Yo, how's it going, indie wrestling fans? Welcome to Indy Handshake. I am your host, Jesus Cruz, and today my guest is Tony Fury. How you doing, Tony?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Pleasure to be
Uh,
here.
yeah, I've met Tony back in like 99, 98 over at Big Time Wrestling, and we've known each other for that long, but I don't think we've actually had like a conversation ever.
No, that's true. I remember you from back in the day at the shows, and God, what a small world. It's been a while since I've seen you, and it's a good thing I ran into your handshake show here. It's pretty cool. I love it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. Thanks for the support. I see that you're always liking the videos and watching the older matches, so we appreciate that. But let's start off with just a standard question of how you got interested in wrestling, and more importantly, how did you find indie wrestling here in this area?
Yeah, so I grew up here in the Bay Area. I got hooked when I was, I guess I'm going to say probably like around, like any other kid around, in my early years, 7, 8 years old. I remember watching wrestling off and on, but I really got hooked, I think when I was around maybe like 13, I'm going to say. Yeah, I just got hooked on it and started watching religiously. I started recording shows. My dad had bought me a VCR. He bought me a beta one. I don't know if you remember what those are. That's how
Yeah,
old I am.
Betamax.
Yeah, Betamax. So, and I started recording the Saturday morning shows like Wrestling Superstars and Wrestling Challenge, and it became almost like a hobby. Just every Saturday show, I thought it was cool to just record. So I just started recording every Saturday. Then I started recording. Next, as the years went by, I was up to like 100 videotapes, and I started thinking about it, and I go, well, uh, one day I'm going to have to go back to these videos. I'm not going to know what's on there. So
Right.
I started with tape one, and I just started writing down everything that was on tape one and wrote down match, who's, and I gave him a little star rating at the end of each one, which is something good, a good promo, things like that. And that's what my nieces
Okay.
talked to you about. Yeah. So,
Right.
and it became a thing where I did it pretty much up until, I'm going to say, when the W Network started. I kind of figured,
Mhm.
well, I guess no need to now. So
Everything's documented.
on
Everything's
there,
already there.
yeah, it was like I couldn't stop every show, every pay-per-view, every live lucha show that aired on shows. It became a hobby to me. I started recording. I still have a lot of VHS beta tapes and that personally recorded original shows, non-edited things that they do now. So, but
Right.
that's how
Right.
I got into the wrestling business, as in a fan.
So going back a little bit, and you mentioned your niece. So basically, I met your niece Natalie, and she saw these tapes and all the wrestling. It's like, oh, my uncle used to wrestle. Do you know Tony Fury? I'm like, yeah, I know Tony Fury. And matter of fact, a whole bunch of tapes are in there. So it was a small world. It was a coincidence, and that's why we have Tony
That's
Fury
cool.
on here
Yeah,
now.
I don't have very much footage of myself because it was always hard for me to get any footage of myself at any of the shows. I mean, I got a couple from the big time because I know Kirk used to sell them on the shows there, and I
Right.
think my wife might have bought a couple of them just for me just to get. But outside of that,
Oh,
you know,
I'll send them. I'll send you what I have.
oh, don't worry about
Here.
it. It's cool. I just saying.
Now
Yeah,
you started training at APW, correct?
I did. I started
Is
training
that
at APW before it became APW. It was still Pacific Coast Sports. Um, so being a wrestling fan in the area, I never really um, I was content being a wrestling fan. I enjoyed the shows. I started going to the shows when they came here. When they used to come monthly to the 1 month it'll be Oakland, the next one would be Cow Palace, and so on and so on. Just go every month, though it was monthly. I think when I was 16, my mom used to work at the Holiday Inn by the. There used to be an old Holiday Inn by the airport off of Hagenberg. My mom used to work there, and I think there was a day when I found out there was going to be a TV taping here in the Coliseum. So I remember going there. I was hanging out the Coliseum, hoping to meet some of the boys and get some pictures and autographs. That's what I would do. And I had to go pick up my mom from work, and I didn't want to leave the Coliseum because I didn't want to miss anybody. But I had to go pick her up. So I get there, got a few minutes there early, and I ended up parking in the lot there. And within like 10 minutes, I see a car pull up behind me. Three huge guys get out. And I'm kind of looking, and I see one arm, and I recognize that arm like right off the bat, and they walk past my car. And I'm looking, and it's the Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, and Outlaw Ron Bass. Oh, I marked out huge. I mean, I couldn't believe I was just watching that. So I get out of my car and I follow them to, just to follow them. And I see them each one getting into their rooms. And I don't know, I marked out and I go, hey. And Outlaw Ron Bass sticks his head out and goes, what? And I go, oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking to the lady over there. And, my mom just happened to stand there and he slams the door. And I go, okay. So my mom tells me, hey, what are you doing here? I go, Mom, why come you didn't tell me the wrestlers were staying here? She goes, oh, I don't know they were wrestlers. She hates wrestling. She didn't like anything about it. So she goes, well, there's a whole bunch sitting over there by the pool. And I look over and there's Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. There's, I think, Valentine Beefcake with it, just lounging on the pool. And, yeah. So from that point on, I knew where the wrestlers stayed here in Oakland. So every time they came, I would be there. And I think it was only like myself and two other people that knew that the wrestlers were there. So, right. I mean, I have the pickings for myself. I go there and I take pictures every month there. I'd be there early. And, that's how I used to meet a lot of the boys. And, I became, I am a huge mark for pro wrestling. So anything those guys did, I just mirrored them, Back then they would wear the old Gold's Gym t-shirts with the sweatpants. And so I started buying that stuff and I started going to the gym and working out just to emulate the fact, right. Back then, no internet, no cell phones. The guys would come and they would see me sitting there with the Gold's Gym shirt. So, they look at me and that's the first thing they would ask at the lobby. The guys would come up and ask, where's a good place to eat and where's the gym? And then, the people would try to tell them, oh, there's a place here and, they don't know the area. So they would see me sitting there and goes, hey, is that gym close by? Yeah. Big Boss Man, a Crush, Brian Adams back in the day, I go, yeah, I offered him to give him a ride. He goes, you guys want a ride? He goes, sure. Take him to the gym. And in return, they'd give me free tickets in return. So
nice.
So that's how they got to know me every month. Same, most of the guys, and they would see me, and that's what I would do. I'd give them a ride to the gym, and in return, they'd give me free tickets. So,
how old were you again at this point?
I think I was like 16.
16. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And basically, yeah, and then I'd take them back, they give me free tickets, and then sometimes they would ask me to give them a ride to the arena. So I go, sure. One guy's, they would ride together in a bunch of cars. Sometimes they wouldn't, they didn't want to wait for whoever they were waiting for, and they would just, they'd be in the lobby just sitting there lounging around and waiting, like Owen or something. And that's who I knew really well was Owen. Owen was really cool, and he didn't want to wait for Brett because Brett was taking his time. And I told him, I said, well, if you want, I'll give you a ride to the arena. He goes, is it far? I said, no, it's just down the street. So he goes, jumps in the car with me. We take him down there. I get to rock in with them. I kind of sort of broke in, not knowing, but by literally carrying his bags into the building, and
right.
He told me, sit right there, man. I'll give you some tickets. I go, sure,
Yeah.
And yeah, he actually verbally told me after that point was, hey, next time I come, it's okay if I just give you a call and you can swing by and I'll set you with tickets. Not a problem. Not a problem. So, every really time he come, it'd be him and somebody else, him and the Beverly Brothers, or him and Louis Spicoli, or him and the Bulldog. Just, every time it was a different thing. And, I got to meet a lot of the boys that way. So,
wow. Yeah. Any crazy stories from all those rides? Any interesting story of some of the guys?
Yeah. Well, early on, they kind of kept it, they still kayfabe a lot. So they wouldn't say very much. They stayed quiet around me because I was, like I said, I was only 16, 17. So they kind of kayfabe me a little bit and stayed quiet. They wouldn't let me into the locker room, of course. I'd go in the back and they would say, okay, just hang out right here. And then they'd go inside and, they didn't tell me much. But there was a time afterwards, I think afterwards when I think I took Owen, Louis Spicoli, and Barry Horowitz on the trip from San Francisco to Fresno. And Kwame was with me. I remember Kwame Kamosi.
Kwame Kamosi, hell yeah.
Yeah, so he was with us that day, and we drove from San Francisco to Fresno. And the whole time down there, Owen and Louis kept messing around with Barry Horowitz. Barry had bought some really expensive tanning oil that he bought at at GNC, and but somehow Louis got to it, and while he was sleeping, and then he starts spraying it all over his hair, and I'm over here driving, trying not to wake him up, and he's spraying, and finally he wakes up because he hears Owen and laugh, and they're cracking up, and he's turning his head around, he's looking, he goes, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Nothing, we're just here, man. You're paranoid." He looks at me because I'm driving. Goes, "What are you doing, Tony?" But I'm just driving, man. That's all I know. He's doing just driving. And they keep messing him, and Owen keep putting back then they still that metric powder, and he's pouring inside of a Gatorade, and he's blowing, and the excess powder he's putting it on the back of his head, on Barry Harwood's head. So anyway, to get all the way, we ended up, there was like a really bad car wreck all the way down to Fresno. So we lost like about a good hour sitting in traffic. So they got there literally as the show began. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they got in trouble for being late. Barry Hartz went in there and snitched on Louis, and he went in there, and I think he got in trouble, and he got out and jumped in the car with the smoking guns because they had just finished their match, and he left. He didn't get to work that night, so right. Louis got in trouble because of Barry, and then when he came out, he got his match and with Owen, and they came back, and we to the left and came back to San Francisco because that's where they were flying out. So the whole way there, they were arguing that Barry had snitched on them, and they got fined and all this stuff. So we get all the way to the San Francisco to the hotel, and Louis and Barry were rooming together. But when he got to the hotel, he found out Barry had packed up his stuff and left him with the bill. So Louis was not having it. So Louis said, "Take me to the airport right now." Said, "All right." So we get down, we jumps out. So my wife was with us that night, and so I told her, "Hang on to this car." Me and Kwame got out, and we went in there. We started looking for them, and sure enough, they're right there in the middle of the lobby, yelling and arguing and a little shove and push, And so me and Kwame were just standing there looking to the side. I go, "Hey, something goes down. We have to pull these guys apart, So, but they ended up hashing it out. Louis came back. Barry got in his plane and left, and he said, "You guys good?" He goes, "Yeah." He apologized, but hate when he does stuff like that. Apparently, it does happen a lot. The ribbing all the way down just made Barry snap, and it was so crazy. Just watching these two guys arguing at the airport. So
right. So going back to your training, so you started training at Rollins when it was Pacific Coast Sports. So how was that? How did you find them, and who was training you at the time? How was training?
Okay, so again, this is when I was still just going to the shows. I was being content being a fan. I had no desire to be a wrestler whatsoever. I think it was the night that Hogan Flair happened here at the Coliseum. The first Hogan Flair thing they had going on here. It was a house show. I was there that night. I think, if not mistaken, I remember it was Rick Thompson, Mike Modest, I believe Rollins, a few other guys. Could have been Robert Thompson. I don't remember well, but they were going. I think they had just opened up the school, so they were going through the crowd, looking for potential students, and they were passing out their cards. Rick Thompson came up to me, and again, I was just like in the Gold's Gym stuff, and he comes up to me, says, "Hey, you look like you got pretty good size, and you ever thought of pursuing this as a career?" And I'm like, "No, not really." He goes, "Oh, well, hey, if you're interested, we open up a school." He gave me his card. He had his name. Everybody had to put their name on the back of the card to see who gave the card out. So I looked at it and said, "Okay, cool, thank you," and I put it in my pocket, forgot about it. It wasn't until I'm gonna say that was in '91, so I'm gonna say about a year later, an old high school friend of mine calls me up out of the blue, Frank, and calls me up and he tells me he wants to be a wrestler. And I'm like, "Okay, well, so what are you telling me for? Because you know everybody. You know how to do it. You know how to get in there." I go, "Well, I don't know anybody. I mean, I just, And then I remember the card. I go, "Well, hey, you know what? There's a place in Fremont, in Hayward. Some guy gave it to me. He goes, I'll give you the card if you want." All right. So I gave him all the information off the card. And I guess he made an appointment to go down there. And then he calls me up and he says, "Hey, come with me." I go, "No, I don't want to go there." He goes, "Yeah, come with me, man. I would just, And mind you, this is a guy that I didn't think even loved wrestling, because even back when we were in high school, I was a big fan, and he never even let clue that, and he told me later, he goes, yeah, but I've always liked it. I just, so low brow, I couldn't tell people that, as a fan. So I was like, okay. So I went with him. He did the interview with Rollins, and he was in there, and he started interviewing Frank, and he's asking him all these questions stuff. And I'm just sitting in the lobby there. I'm looking around, just looking at cool stuff, and I guess Roland asked about me. He goes, "How about you? You want to sign up?" And I go, "No, I'm just here with them. He's the one doing." He started asking me things like, well, you like wrestling? I go, "Yeah, I do." And then he started, "Well, who's your favorite wrestler?" And I go, "Well, I like people like, Jushin Thunder Liger, Owen Hart, Teddy DiBiase, people like that." And then I think that lit up his brain because, I don't know what Frank might have told him. I don't know if he told him just the basic, Hulk Hogan, something like that. I don't know. But
so you went a little deeper.
Yeah. So he kind of figured, oh, this guy knows his stuff. This guy knows his workers. And I think that's what he told me later on. That's why he picked. So he ended up giving Frank a deal of some kind, saying, "Hey, if you can get your friend there to sign up, both of you guys, I'll give you guys like a tag team discount." All right. He asked me, "You want to sign up?" I go, "No, I don't want to sign up. I don't want nothing to do with it." So, and again, I was already friends with the boys. I mean, I was content being just a fan. I was living life. So, the one thing I always did want to do was bounce off the ropes, run the ropes, because it looked fun. And we walked inside the actual school area. They had the ring set up, and then I just really got enamored with that. As soon as I saw the ropes, I'm like, "Oh my God, this is a real ring." Roland told me that the reason he really wanted me, because he said that when I got the card in, it had Rick's name on it in the back. He goes, "This is our head of spiritual. If he sees something in you, that must mean that, you must be good." And I go,
Right.
"Oh, I didn't even notice the name was back there." I just grabbed the card and put it in my pocket. So, yeah, that's how I got in. And the training was something else there. Yeah. As soon as we went, I think I was in class number 2, if I'm mistaken, because class 1 was the day when they were passing out the cards. And I don't know exactly who was in the first class, other than Mike Modest, Max Justice, I think Robert, and there was I don't remember if his name was the guy named Ocean Suka, or something like, I can't remember if he was like Samoan or Filipino or something like that. And I think maybe Diablo might have been in there. Super Diablo might have been in there too. But I was in second class. Like I said, it was a year later that I went. So I was in '92 when I signed up. So, but that's when I signed up there.
So, what going from a fan to actually training and taking bumps? How was that? How was that feeling? Like, oh shit, now I'm doing it for real. Like, and training could be very intense, especially back then. So, how was your experience going from just watching it to like, oh, now I'm getting body slammed?
Oh man, is that an eye opener there? The training when we signed up that beginners camp, as they call it, when they started doing all the calisthenics, that alone used to kill me. The jumping jacks, because I was never athletic. I never played sports of any kind. That stuff alone just killed me. And again, I think they had that mentality of the old school training, how they would break you first to see if you wanted to, I think that's was what it was. I mean, they would make us run 2 miles. They would make us do the arches in the ring and the wheelbarrows, I used to call them, and running up down the stairs, and that's all 2 hours prior before even getting in the ring to anything, and then started the fun part there. And I think I just amazed myself that I was able to do it, because I didn't think I could do it. And I mean, I'm pretty sure, like most other guys, they were probably just thinking, "What the hell am I doing here? Why am I killing myself doing this?"
Right.
Because when we started doing the beginners camp, it had nothing to do with what, at least what I thought I saw on TV. There was no body slams, there was no drop kicks. It was all, do these neck bridges and then
rolls.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, this makes no sense to me. As we went on though, then I started to see how they incorporate everything. We were doing like amateur wrestling and grapevines and wizards and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is what I what you do in high school, man. Why am I doing this? And then they taught us how it goes into. I said, okay, now it makes sense. And as the time went on, it was really hard. Trying to fall on your back intentionally, it's not an easy thing. But I think what I really fell in love with it, and it's weird to say, but was when we started doing the chops. And Roland would line everybody up and tell everybody, okay, so you're gonna chop so and so, and then the next person will move and do the chop, and that's so on. When it came to me, for some reason I don't know why, but I was the last one in there to get the chop.
Yeah.
And I forgot somebody was supposed to give it to me, and when that came through, Rick Thompson got in. He goes, well, let me do this. And everybody started going, oh, Mike. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, did he light me up? Oh, he lit me up so good. He gave me a chop, and then he gave me another one. He goes, oh, that wasn't very good. And then he let loose. He must have gave me at least 15 chops back to back. Not just, just chop, chop, chop. Then he came down with the hand going down, Japanese style going down, and then chop. And I don't know why I kept thinking, just fall. And I couldn't. I took every one of them until he stopped, and then I dropped. And everybody jumped out of the ring. I was like, that's it, we're done. And hamburger meat, man, hamburger meat all over.
Oh, shit.
And I don't know if that's the way they broke me in, but Rick Thompson broke me on the chops, and he laid them in there. So, yeah. So it was an experience. I go back and think about it, and I love it. So, my mom and my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and she would go, "Why do you do that? It makes no sense." I go, "I can't explain it." Yeah. So, but when you start doing stuff like that, though, and you start learning to do like the backdrops, things like that. I never saw myself taking a backdrop, and I took one from Mike, Big Mike, and I was I'm scared of heights to begin with. So everybody gets to do the backdrop off of somebody, and then Roland would say, okay, Mike, get in there, you give them to him. And now Mike Modest would be the one to do it, and he had the best backdrop because he would push off the shoulders. And then Mike would stand straight up so he could even higher up. And it looked so nice. So, when we did it, it just, some guys could do it, some couldn't. And I was just that. When it was my turn to do it, it was scary, and it was an amazing feeling because when I went up, I was up in the air and I'm like, and then you land and you're still alive, and I go, okay, I can do this. This is great. So.
Did you finish training? Did you debut at APW or no?
No, I didn't. I finished, I'm going to say, at the time, Roland used to tell us that the APW was so great, and they were going to grow, and, and his idea was, oh, we're going to so big, and we're going to be so bad, and, it's going to take Uncle Vince, quote, Uncle Vince to get us out of here. And I'm like, okay, At the time, I think at the beginning of that training, it was Rick Thompson and a guy by the name of Jim Gorman. I don't know if you know who that is. He was
I've heard the name a lot.
Yeah, he used to be. I used to see him on TV as a jobber most of the time on TV. But I think he somewhere in the southern states, him and Marty Jannetty were tag team champions. But anyway, he was a trainer there for a little bit. So I remember, I don't know why this happened, but I think, if I remember correctly, there was going to be a TV taping in Sacramento at the Arco Arena. And I don't know why, but he came up to me. He came up to me, and he came up to maybe like one or two other guys. He came up to us separately, and he came up and he said, hey, there's going to be a wrestling thing in Sacramento for the WWF. And I said, okay. He goes, they asked me to bring a couple guys down and, to be on the show. And I said, and I kind of looked at him, and I'm like, well, you think I'm ready? I'm just starting my training here. Well, it's easy. You don't do much. You already got your bumps down. That's all you got to do. I go, well, I said, I don't know. You think I'm ready? He goes, yeah, you'll be fine. Just keep it down low. Don't say nothing. I go, Okay. I said, well, if you think I can do it, I mean, you're the trainer. He said, sure. And this is before class started. And so no more than about, man, like a half hour later, Roland got everybody around the ring and Rick Thompson's there and he's there, Jim Gorman's there. And he starts telling everybody, well, I hear a couple of you guys think you guys are superstars. You guys are going to be in a TV taping, huh? You guys call yourselves pro wrestlers. He goes, so you can't call yourself a pro wrestler unless you're making a living from it. If you're calling yourself a pro wrestler, I'm gonna make you get in the ring and demonstrate it to Rick here because he's a pro wrestler. And he goes, I hear you guys think you guys are a superstar. You guys are gonna be out there in TV. And I'm looking at Jim. And I'm like, what the hell, And he goes, I don't want none of my guys losing to any of the WF guys because you guys are way better than they are. And I'm like, okay, And he didn't single anybody out. He just, I don't know, maybe he was just testing the guys. I have no idea why he came up about, but it was just an awkward thing. But he would always say we were going to do these shows, and for whatever reason, nothing ever progressed out of him. He would give us a date, and then nothing happened. Then he'd give us all ready for another show, and nothing happened. And I think I hurt my knee. If I'm mistaken, I hurt my knee at work, and so I told him I can come in a couple of training sessions. I can come in, and a little bit. I think I ended up losing the interest of it, and I just stopped going. And I was gone for about maybe, like I'm gonna say, like 8 months, and then I ran into Roland at one of the WWF house shows here at the Coliseum. He says, "How you doing?" I'm doing all right. And he had this guy. I used to wrestle for the WWF at the time, Man Mountain Rock or Man Mountain Mike or something like that. Did like a air guitar gimmick guy. He wrestled in WCW and he wrestled in WWF later. And I don't know, I guess Roland had him as a trainer now at APW at the time. So he was trying to convince me to come back. I recognized who the guy was. Like, yeah, you should come back. You're good. You can do this. And I go, all right. I came back. And then the only show that progressed out of that was that Ron Head show that he did in San Jose.
The Father's Day Bash?
The Father's Day Bash, yeah. So Roland had me on the show, but not to work. He had me just doing, originally I was supposed to be on the show, but then I think he said, we're just going to use you guys as security. I think me, Joe Applebomber, a couple other guys he had to use just to do the escort to the ring back and forth. So we did that show there. But then I realized I was in a APW / Pacific Coast Sports. I think it was Ron's show.
Right.
So, and I've known Ron back in the day because he used to be one of the few guys that knew where the wrestler stayed. So me and him, we knew each other really well. So, right. But outside of that, no shows ever occurred. So I noticed Roland had this bad habit of, he did his monthly. Everybody that owed money, he once you paid your monthly due and you got in the ring, you took a backdrop or a bump. That's a great bump. You see that guy? That's a good bump. All right. But if you miss the payment, that is the shittiest bump. You see, that's why this guy is not going to amount to anything. So if you paid, you were awesome. If you didn't, you were no good. Ain't that right, Mike? Yeah. So, and one of those things. So, it's like, this isn't going to happen out of here. So, I'm content. I'm still riding with Owen and the boys. I'm good. So I left again, and I just didn't go back. So
now that the boys know, the WWF boys know that you're training, did they give you any pointers or any tips of?
Yeah, I rode with Tito and Tito Santana and Owen one night, and I remember I had my gear in the back. One of those things that Rick and Roland taught me was, always take your gear, and I had my boots back there, my wrestling boots. I remember I picked up Owen and Tito at the airport, and when I opened the trunk, Owen saw the boots. He goes, "Whose boots are those?" I go, "Oh, they're mine." He goes, "You working?" I go, "Well, I started to. I was training." He goes, "Oh, okay." Got a little kick out of it, and Tito. I remember asking Tito. I said, "What do you think, Tito?" I said, "I've only been doing this, I think, I don't know, like a year and a half so far, He said, He asked me, well, what do you think? He goes, do you like it? I go, yeah, I do. He goes, as long as you get your basics down, your bumps, and technique, everything else follows through. It'll fall in if you really love it, it'll fall through. I said, okay. So, but again, I have no desire really to do it. I just, again, I'm getting free tickets. I'm going to the shows. I get to watch it. What I love, what I love to see.
Right.
It didn't even become a second thought to me anymore. I think I found out later on that the APW was starting to do the shows, little shows here and there. But yeah, I had no desire to go back or anything. So. Yeah.
So where did you go after APW, and how did the name Tony Fury come about?
So it was 1998, I believe, was when I ran into Owen at an autograph signing in San Jose, the day of the Royal Rumble. It was in '98, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It was the day of the pay-per-view. Kirk White brought in Owen to do an autograph signing in Hayward at a comic card store or some toy store in Hayward. So I went there, said hi to Owen, and he said he was gonna give me some tickets for the show. And I said, all right, cool. I remember that day real nice. It was raining that day. And after Owen was leaving, of course, we waited to the end till Owen was done with the signing. And I guess Kirk was there. I guess Kirk saw me talking to Owen, so he asked me, "Oh, you know Owen?" I go, "Yeah, we're known him for years already, a few years." And so he's like, "Oh man, you should." I told him that he asked me. I think he asked me if I remember if I was worker, and I said, "Well, I started to. Yeah, I started with APW, and I kind of told him a little bit of the story with the Rollins background." "Oh man, you should come to our place over here. Call this guy Jason." I go, "Oh, really?" He goes, yeah, you should give him a try. You never know. It's like,
so you had no clue that there was another school?
No. I knew about Kirk and his big time wrestling shows, but I didn't know who Jason was. Or again, I never went to any of his shows at all, so I didn't know. I saw some flyers here and there, but I never really went to any shows. So I think I went to one. No, I did. I did go to one show prior to that. Because he brought in Tito, and I knew Tito, so I would go just to say hi to the guys. So,
right.
And I did go to one of his shows, and that's only. But I didn't know who Kirk was. I didn't know who Jason was. I saw them on the show. I knew Steve Rosano was because he was in my class with me. Right. I was there when Spike Dudley was there training. I was with Spike there in the same class as Spike. So,
right. And Super Diablo too, right?
And Diablo would come and go. Sometimes he'd go and sometimes he didn't. So, he was more established already by then. So sometimes I think he was going to Jason's act, except I didn't know. I ran into him when I started going to Jason's place. So I called Jason. I think we went down there. I went down there and he asked me how much I knew. I kind of didn't know how to explain to him. So he was like, okay. Got in the ring with me. We did a few, lockups, and then he kind of realized, he said, "Oh, you know what you're doing. You're fine." He goes, "Just I think he charged me like $25." He goes, "Just pay me $25 to get in here and do some ring work." I said, "Okay." So now I was getting back in the ring, and I was like, "This is great." I'm getting back in here doing, and these guys were a lot more, laid back, and Jason was great, and Shane would go there time to time. Shane Cody would go in there, but I don't think I ever seen Shane work out there. He would just go. But I think, a lot of the guys that we were in there just sparring in there and just doing. It was great. It was fun. Not too long after that, Kurt booked me on a show in Union City or I think it was maybe Union City or Fremont. I don't remember exactly. Might have been Fremont.
He ran a lot in Fremont. It had to be in Kennedy and Fremont, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Kennedy High School. He did a show there at Kennedy High. And my first match with them was me and a guy named Coco Samoa, another APW guy that left. And he put us together against Joe Applebomber and maybe Johnny Payne, maybe? I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I knew Joe. So, so yeah, that was my first. It was a tag match with them at that school. Great, but the name Tony Fury, it came. I was working at the place where I worked at. I was telling them that I was gonna have my match and everything. They said, "What name are you going by?" I said, "I don't know." They used to always call me a Tigre. I don't know why. They used to call me a Tigre, and Tony the Tiger and something like that. And I go, I don't know, maybe a Tigre. I said, "Nah, man, that doesn't sound good." My old one of my coworkers, they passed away already. I give him credit for it. No, you gotta have a cool name, something like Tony Fury or something like that. I'm like, yeah, Tony Fury. Yeah, I like that. So that's what it came out of. So
Okay.
yeah, and I've been using since.
Right. Yeah, I even so your niece Natalie, she's doing stand-up comedy, and I actually told her like you should use Natalie Fury. Like that'll be a dope name.
Absolutely, pass it on. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your memorable matches or moments at BTW or opponents?
Um, I always like working with Shane Cody. A lot of people don't like Shane Cody because they say he's really stiff and really snug. That's the way I was trained. I never complained. I know a lot of people complain that, dang, that guy's stiff, and that's what it is. He would the first time I got in the ring with them, he laid everything in, body slammed me on the ground on the hard concrete at school, no give, and he, it's like a slab of meat just, falling on there, and I felt every little bit of it, but I knew how to properly protect myself in there, and I don't know. Maybe that's why. I mean, I wrestled Cody quite a bit. That always stuck us in there a lot, and I don't know. Maybe just because he was comfortable with me. I don't know. It just, I never complained about it. It was great. It was fun work with them.
Right.
Yeah, it was great. I don't think some memorable matches. I mean, I got to go in with and I like doing the battle royals. I remember I did one in San Jose with for Kirk. We brought in Honky Tonk Man, and I was like, that's cool. I got to be in there with Honky Tonk Man. That's pretty neat.
Right.
Playboy Buddy Rose. He always been there a lot. And I think the best show was, I think that Kirk ran back then, was the one we brought in some current WWE stars. I think it was the Al Snow and the D'Lo Brown. Yeah, because I got to be on that show. That was really cool. I was like, wow, these guys are in the contract. He pulled some strings for this. This is really cool. So that might have been the best show, memorable show that I remember on. So that was on there.
So you're, mainly at BTW, you were mainly singles. Once in a while, I think you'll tag with Coco Samoa. But then later on, years later, you teamed up with Icebox as the, was it Oaktown Boys? Is that what the?
Yeah, he came up with that. He came up with that. How
did your relationship start with Icebox?
So going back to after working for Kirk, for some reason, I was able to get other bookings outside of BTW though. I remember working for Earthquake Ferris. I did a show.
Legends of Wrestling show?
Yeah, I did. I got to work, me and Coco got to work that show, and I worked with Mo, with Super Diablo. The one night, which was a really cool match. That's actually, I think that'd be one of my favorite matches with Diablo. He played the total babyface. I did the heel, and it was great. I think they even aired that on their show, not mistaken. Really cool match. And then the next night in Pittsburgh, I think it was, me and Coco tag team against Sergeant Slaughter and Johnny Payne. So that was really cool. So, and then after that, I remember some guys from Sacramento. I can't remember the Schizo promotion out there.
Schizo Mafioso?
Yeah, he booked me on the show out there, and it was at a bar. That's gotta be one of the weirdest places I've never had a bar. It was like a 10 o'clock start time. It was like you have to go in through the bar and then go in the patio, and then it had like a ring set up there. And it was a very good quality ring, but it was interesting. Yeah, we did a tag match there, and they did a battle royal. It was that's gonna be the weirdest place I ever wrestled at. Yeah,
at a bar.
So yeah, it was at a bar, and there's that. Like I said, I've never seen anything quite like it, but it was interesting. It was fun. So
right.
But Icebox I met years before, 'cause when I used to go with the boys to drop them off at the Coliseum, he was working security there. So he kind of knew me because he always drive by there, and I always put him down there where the wrestlers came in. So that's where I met him. He always remembered me. He would ask me questions like, "Oh man, how'd you you related to them or do you know them? I go, oh, no, just, I tell them a little bit of my story, oh, no, I'm just friends, I pick them up and, oh man, that's cool. And as the years progressed, he would always come up with me and come up with these scenarios. Hey, if I ever get a wrestling ring, you think we could do a wrestling school? I go, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, why not? I never thought he'd do it. All these years later, I was just actually, when I was actually considering to stop doing it, he comes out of the blue one day and just says, hey, I got a ring. What? He goes, you got a ring? Goes, yeah. Okay, well, let's do this then. He came up with it, and we start coming up with this concept of like, who should we book? I go, well, I say you could use the big time wrestling guys, but then I don't know how Kirk's gonna feel. You're gonna do a show with him or not? And then so he came up with the concept of, well, why don't we use a little bit of everybody? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, why don't we use some guys like from APW, do some shows with big time wrestling. And at the time, Icebox actually got a deal together with Pro Wrestling Iron, and that's who we were originally going to do the match with. It was supposed to be Pro Wrestling Iron and us as a joint thing. For whatever reason, the place that he booked it at told Icebox he couldn't do the show there on that date. So then I think what's his name? Frank Murdoch or Kelly? His name was
Murdoch
Kelly
from Iron.
Yeah, so I think they sent him and somebody else from Pro Wrestling to talk to this manager and trying to get him to change it. Hey, well, we got guys coming and you got to find them work and that stuff. And that's hard, man. I can't do it. So then they backed out of the show. So then Icebox still wanted to do the show on the alternate date. And so now he had, because they were going to use his ring and I don't know, whatever. And that's when Icebox came up with the idea. What if we do something else? We'll bring some guys from APW. We'll bring some guys out from Big Time Wrestling. Bring some guys from that promotion in Sacramento, the
PCW.
That is that what they were? The Schizo? Is that what they were?
It was Schizo's PCW, and actually, I think they used. I think they ended up using the ring.
PCW. That's what it was. Yeah, and I think, we were going to use Kirk's ring. And then I think when Kirk found out, if I remember correctly, Kirk found out that that we were going to bring some of those guys in, and he wasn't very happy about it. So I remember he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I heard those guys, they're backing out." And I go, "Really?" Well, yeah, you can't trust those guys. I'm like, okay. So I call Icebox. I say, "Hey, these guys back out?" He goes, "No." Okay. So then he calls me back and says, "Oh, I heard their ring got on fire. They got no more building." I'm like, okay.
There was a rumor, yeah.
Yeah, So then it's the other stuff. So Icebox said, "Don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry." I said, "Okay." So we ended up doing the show anyway, and we got it, and we called it let's call it California Clash, because it's like a little bit of everybody, So he's like, "All right." So because originally we wanted to put people we wanted to get like Mike Modest versus Jason Styles, like something like that, and a little bit of like intergender, inner match, with the promotions,
interpromotional, yeah.
Yeah, so we thought it was great, but Modest, he was a first thing iron, so that didn't happen. I remember we talked to Jason about it, and he was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm gonna get in the ring with that guy. He'd probably kill me with those Japanese moves, I don't like this guy." But yeah, like I said, it never happened. So, but the match, the show came out really well. I mean, I think Mike Lano kind of helped us out a bit on it.
He did ring announcing. I remember that show. It was at the Oakland Moose Lodge.
At the Moose Lodge, yeah. And he even brought in like Ann Cavello, and I mean, Icebox is a roller derby guy, so that's where his fame is from. Roller derby. Like I said, I can't do that stuff like what Kirk and Roland do. I just, it's just not. If it's not fun, you can't do it. I get it. Right. Business is business. But also, you can't treat the boys that way. I remember. I don't know if you were there for that Legion of Doom one with the Road Warriors.
Yeah.
I think Hawk was. They were there, but Hawk wasn't going to come to the show. I don't know if you heard anything about that. He
No,
wasn't
he
going to
was
come to
all
the show
messed up.
because
Yeah.
he was all messed up. And Kirk was fuming to Animal in the back. Oh, you got to get him here. Well, hey, man, I'm here. You know, what can you do? No, you got to get him here. I got the commission here. They're going to ask for refunds. You know, like, oh, man, I can't tell you anything, man, you know. And, oh, no, oh, my God. I mean, again, bringing up tears almost. And he's mad. Oh, I'm going to have to give everybody their money back. What am I going to do? You know, and he's like, hey, man, I'll call him. I'll see if he can. So somebody went to get Hawk and brought him to the show. Now I know Hawk, I know Mike. I've known him from the past. Right. He sees me there. Hey, what's going on, Tony? He sits with us, with me and Icebox. Him and Animal, and they sit with us and they're talking. And I could tell Hawk's out of it a little bit, you know. And then Kurt comes up to me. Hey, you're gonna go out there, right? Nah, I'm not going out there. Well, you gotta go out there. You gotta give autographs. He goes, nah. He goes, all right, I'll go out there. He goes, all right. He goes, put on your gear. He goes, I'm not putting that shit on. No way. I'm not putting that stuff on. So now you don't even put the stuff on. No, you got to. And then again, Kirk storms out of the room, and then it's like, oh my God. So finally he gets, I guess they come up with something, and goes, look, I'll do all the work I think they worked the Ballards that night. He goes, I'll do all the work. You just stand in the corner and do the finish. And Hawk was like, no, if I go out there, I'm going to throw up. So I don't know what changed his mind, but they got him to go out there in street clothes, no makeup, no shoulder pads, nothing. He goes, I'm not putting that stuff on. So, and they went out to do the thing. Now, I was standing in the back behind that curtain on the stage there as they left the ring. And I tell you, I don't know if anybody else was back there. I know me and my wife were standing back there. And the second he got to that curtain, Hawk puked. He fell to his knees and puked right there on the floor. And I was like, oh, I go, Mike, you okay? And he just like, I gotta get out of here. And he got his stuff and grabbed bags and off he went. So yeah, so he was messed up, man. Poor guy.
Yeah, all he did was a doomsday device.
Like, that's
all he did.
Yeah, I think he went out there. I think he took pictures that night too. He had to go out to the ring at intermission, and he did the picture thing in the ring, and then he did the match with them. And like I say, he just stood there. He got in the top rope, did the clothesline, and you know they did the wave and through the curtain. He puked, just puked. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So
right. All right, Tony. Well, we're out of time here, but just the last question here. I wanted to ask you what did you find disappointing in the business? Like all the years since you started to now, what are some of the things that you found disappointing about being part of the business?
Just basically a lot of the politics in the business, yeah. You know, and I guess a lot of the guys. I mean, it's a lot. I'm not gonna say it's a lot easier, but it's more convenient for the boys now. Back then, when I'd go in the back before cell phones, you know, you see. They would have payphones in the back in the locker room, and you see a line of guys just standing there waiting to use that phone, you know, to call their home, their wives or their girlfriends or whatever. And you know, and I go, you know, they miss home sometimes. And you know, nowadays it's they're constantly on their phone. They can contact, and it's I don't know if it's as bad, but it is a lonely thing for these guys. You know, I've seen a lot of things I shouldn't have seen, you know, with Sheik, with his habits, and I've driven. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna name any wrestlers here in this one, but I did. I took a couple guys that were looking for some dope in the city, and the way about it was just so crazy. I couldn't believe I was a part of that, but. Yeah, they asked me, what do I know? I go, not really, man, because I don't use any stuff. But just drive around here. All right, we drove around through the 100 Point area, and these two high-profile guys too, man. They went around and asked somebody if they had some crack, and some guy comes up with, yeah, how much you want? He goes, give me $50 worth. I go, all right, you gotta give me the money. He goes, well, I know you're not gonna come back. Oh, I'm gonna go around the corner. So they give him $50. The guy goes around the corner. He comes back with a little piece of rock. Gives it to him. And I remember one of them tells the other, I'm in the back seat, mind you. They're the ones driving. I'm in the back. Because they just want me to show them where this area was. And they go, hey man, if we see more than 2-3 guys coming, we're just gonna run them over. I'm like, oh my God. Like, okay. So the guy comes back, he gives him a little rock, and then we drive off. We go like about 2 blocks, and then they stop and turn on the light, and then they looking at it. What do you think? I don't know. Yeah, they toss it out the window and they take off. I go, what are you guys doing,
What
man?
the hell?
Yeah. So it's just crazy, and stuff like that I remember, and I go, man, that's it's not a cool thing, It's really disappointing, And then these guys I looked up to, and I thought they were just cool guys, and it just turns out they all have their demons, and that's about the most disappointing part of it, seeing some of these guys, and I look at them and I go, well, I remember this and remember that, So,
meeting all these guys that you look up to, was there a time where there was somebody that was like a total dick, or was like, you're kind of disappointed that they were that way?
Yeah, I guess Hogan. Hogan was a real jerk. Especially back then. I don't know about now, but definitely back. I have like 3 pictures with Hogan, but out of those 3 pictures, it took me like 5 years to get those pictures, because I met him several times before that, and he was just the type of guy that just unless there was a camera like a promotional or camera around, like a TV camera, he wouldn't stop doing anything. Anybody just I remember seeing him. I go, excuse me, Mr. Hogan, can I take it? And he just keep walking. Excuse me, can I take it? And he just keep walking. Okay, not just to me. Smaller kids, and even and they'd be chasing him, and he wouldn't stop. And
right.
But it was and all the heels were always the coolest. People that you thought were just the worst. They were the ones that would stop and take pictures and sign your stuff, and you'd be like, man, dude, it's totally opposite. And but I think Hogan's got to been one of the worst ones that I met back then, and but I met him since then. He's been okay now, but but because of his stature, you figured that guy would be one of the super coolers, and just turned out he was. So yeah.
Don't meet your heroes, what they say, right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Tony Fury, and I really think that you should put some of these stories together. Some kind of memoir or something. Like, I'm sure you have way more stories.
My son keeps telling me to do that. He goes, Dad, you're telling me you got some of the stories people want to hear. I go, I don't know. Yeah, I'm actually surprised
you have the stories, you have the pictures, so it's like it would be a good idea for you to start thinking about something like that. Thank you, Tony Fury, for being on Indy Handshake, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.